What I discovered about the silent anguish experienced by people over 60 left me deeply moved. During a particularly moving consultation, I realized how this indefinable feeling, this restlessness that arises in the early hours of the day, affects far more families than we realize. Do you know that feeling? Waking up with your heart racing for no apparent reason, as if something isn't right, even though objectively everything is normal in your life. It's an anguish that has no name, no face, but it steals the tranquility of the first moments of the day, just when we should be renewing our energy. Over decades of observing people in this age group, I've come to understand a fundamental difference between clinical anxiety and the silent anguish many experience. Anxiety has identifiable triggers, specific situations that set it off. Silent anguish, on the other hand, is more subtle, more persistent, like a background soundtrack that plays softly but never completely stops. What's fascinating is discovering how the morning becomes crucial in this process. Our brain, after hours of rest, awakens with a particular chemistry. Cortisol levels naturally rise to prepare us for the day, but in more mature people, especially those with decades of experience, accumulated worries, and natural bodily changes, this rise can translate into a feeling of restlessness. The good news is that there are specific, scientifically backed rituals that can completely transform this morning experience. I'm not talking about complex solutions or medications, but simple practices that, when performed consistently, naturally rebalance our brain chemistry early in the day. If you identify with this description, if you recognize that silent anguish that seems inexplicable, but that you feel right there, deep in your chest, in the early hours of the morning, leave a yes in the comments. I want to know how many people truly understand what I'm talking about, because this helps me better understand how I can contribute more specific content to this reality that is so common, yet so little discussed. I vividly remember the first time an entire family came to my office worried about their matriarch. It was a 3-generation group, all united by concern for their 72-year-old grandmother, who had begun to display morning restlessness that was affecting the entire family dynamic. The daughter told me that her mother woke up every day at 5 in the morning, not because of insomnia, but because of a feeling that she needed to be up, needed to check that everything was okay. She would walk around the house, organize things that were already organized, turn on the television at a low volume, and stay there, simply waiting for the day to truly begin. When asked what she was feeling, she would simply say she had a strange feeling in her chest, a sensation she couldn't name. The most interesting thing was observing how the grandmother's morning anxiety was reverberating throughout the family. Her grandchildren avoided sleeping at her house because they could sense the tension in the air early in the morning. Her daughter had developed the habit of calling every day at 6 in the morning to check on her. Her son-in-law commented on a heavy energy he felt whenever they visited the house in the morning. During our conversation, I discovered that this feeling had begun about 6 months earlier, coinciding with some natural changes in her life. Her husband's permanent retirement, some minor health issues that had arisen, some friends moving to other cities. Nothing dramatically traumatic, but a series of small losses and transitions that her nervous system was silently processing. What struck me most was when she said she felt like she was waiting for bad news that never came. This phrase made me understand the nature of this silent anguish. It wasn't fear of anything specific, but a constant preparation of the body to deal with uncertainties that are a natural part of this phase of life. 3 months later, this same family returned for a follow-up meeting. The transformation was visible not only in the woman's posture, but in the energy of the entire group. She had implemented a specific sequence of morning rituals that completely changed her relationship with the early hours of the day. Instead of waking up alert, she developed a routine that left her genuinely eager to begin each morning. The first ritual that completely transformed this family's morning experience was something I call gentle body scanning. Before even getting out of bed, while still lying down, she learned to gently scan her body, not looking for problems, but acknowledging the sensations present with loving curiosity. The technique involves starting with the feet, moving the toes and ankles while still under the covers, then gradually moving up the legs, hips, torso, arms, and finally reaching the neck and head. The goal isn't to assess whether something is hurting or uncomfortable, but simply to acknowledge each part of the body that worked hard throughout the night to keep all vital functions functioning optimally. During this approximately 3-minute scan, the person should mentally repeat phrases such as, "Thank you, legs, for holding me up. Thank you, heart, for beating without me having to remember. Thank you, lungs, for allowing me to breathe easily." It seems simple, but the neurological impact is profound. We're redirecting the morning's focus from problem finding to functional recognition. Neuroscience shows us that we naturally wake up in a state researchers call orienting vigilance, where our brain automatically scans for potential threats or problems in the environment. In more mature people, especially those who have spent decades caring for others, this vigilance can become excessive, generating silent anguish in the first moments of consciousness. Gentle body recognition interrupts this automatic problem-seeking pattern, replacing it with a pattern of gratitude and acknowledgement. When we do this consistently, we are literally retraining our morning neurological response. Instead of waking up asking, "What's wrong?" we start waking up asking, "What's working well?" The second ritual involves what I call arrival breathing. Still in bed after body recognition, the person places one hand on their chest and the other on their stomach, breathing so that only the hand on their stomach moves. This automatically activates the parasympathetic nervous system, responsible for relaxation and digestion. The specific technique requires inhaling for a count of 4, holding your breath for a count of 4, exhaling for a count of 6, and holding your breath for a count of 2. This specific ratio, especially the longer exhalation than the inhalation, signals to the brain that we are safe and do not need to be in a constant state of alert. During this breathing, which should last between 5 and 7 minutes, the person should visualize each exhalation as a way to release any tension accumulated during sleep. Many people don't realize it, but we dream intensely even when we don't remember, and we often wake up carrying emotional tension from situations we experienced during sleep. The third element of this initial phase is what I call gentle intention for the day. After the arrival breath, while still lying down, the person should mentally formulate a single, simple intention for that specific day. Not a to-do list, not complex goals, but a single word or phrase that represents how they would like to feel at the end of that day. It could be something like tranquility, connection, discovery, care, or simple joy. The important thing is that it's an emotional intention, not a productivity goal. When we set an emotional intention first thing in the morning, our brain subconsciously seeks opportunities throughout the day to realize that experience. These first 3 rituals, performed in bed within the first 10 to 15 minutes of waking, establish a completely different neurological foundation for the day. Instead of jumping out of bed in problem-solving mode, the person creates a smooth transition between sleep and wakefulness, allowing the nervous system to gradually adjust to the day's demands. The fourth ritual, which should be performed immediately after getting out of bed, involves what I call a territory walk. During the first 5 minutes of standing, the person should walk slowly around the house, not to check if everything is in order, but to acknowledge each room as a space that welcomes and protects them. The difference is fundamental. An anxious walk checks if the doors are locked, if anything is out of place, if any trouble arose during the night. A reconnaissance walk observes the light coming through the kitchen window, notes how the room maintains a welcoming energy, and perceives how each piece of furniture has its specific function in creating a peaceful environment. During this walk, the person should touch 3 different objects, paying attention to the texture, temperature, and weight of each. This could be the kitchen table, a sofa cushion, or the stair railing. Conscious touch activates sensory receptors that send direct signals to brain regions responsible for feelings of safety and belonging. Neuroscience reveals that people with silent anxiety often exhibit a subtle disconnect between body and environment. They are physically present, but emotionally floating in an undefined space of preoccupation. Territorial recognition through touch restores this connection, anchoring the person in the physical present. The fifth ritual is perhaps the most powerful for people in this age group. I call it talking to the wiser version of yourself. Standing in front of the bathroom mirror, the person should look into their own eyes and ask a single question. What would you, who have lived so long, want me to know today? This isn't superficial self-help. It's a profound recognition that a person over 60 carries decades of accumulated wisdom, experiences overcome, crises resolved, and moments of beauty experienced. Often, silent anguish arises when we disconnect from this inner wisdom, focusing only on future uncertainties, rather than recognizing all the competence already demonstrated. The answer that emerges shouldn't be analyzed or questioned. It can come as a word, an image, a feeling, a memory. The important thing is to receive this internal communication with respect and curiosity. We're activating neural networks associated with emotional self-regulation and confidence in our own ability to navigate life. Observing hundreds of cases, I realize that people who develop silent anxiety have often become disconnected from their own inner authority. They begin to question decisions they once made naturally, doubt instincts that always guided them well, and feel insecure in territories where they once walked confidently. This morning conversation gradually restores this connection to accumulated wisdom. The sixth ritual involves what I call intentional nourishment of the body. I'm not just talking about eating breakfast, but about consciously choosing the first food that enters the body, treating this moment as a ritual of care, not as an automatic obligation. A person should choose a food that genuinely brings them sensory pleasure. It could be a favorite fruit, a special tea, or a piece of fresh bread. The important thing is that it's a conscious choice, not an automatic habit. During the preparation and consumption of this first food, all attention should be focused on the sensations, the aroma, the texture, the temperature, the taste. Recent studies confirm that the first food we eat in the morning significantly influences our serotonin production throughout the day. But beyond the chemical aspect, there's a profound psychological aspect. When we start the day by offering our bodies something pleasurable, we're sending a message of self-care and appreciation. For people with silent distress, who often feel as if they are just getting through the days without truly inhabiting them, this ritual of intentional nurturing restores a sense of being truly present and deserving of care and simple pleasure. The seventh ritual that revolutionizes the morning experience is what I call connecting with daily purpose. After intentional nourishment, a person should identify a single action they will take that day that will benefit someone other than themselves. It doesn't have to be something grand. It could be calling a friend, watering a plant, preparing something special for their spouse, or sending a loving message to a grandchild. The important thing is that it's a concrete action, achievable on that specific day, and that it connects the person with something greater than their own worries. Silent anguish often arises from an excessive internal focus, a rumination on personal feelings and concerns that amplify when they don't find an outlet through contributing to the world around them. When we define a specific way to contribute to the well-being of others in the morning, we redirect mental energy that was being consumed by anxiety into a productive and connective channel. Our brains need purpose to function optimally, especially in older people who may be going through important transitions in their social and family roles. Neuroscience shows us that acts of generosity, even small ones, activate the same neural networks associated with pleasure and reward. When we plan a way to contribute to someone else's day in the morning, we are literally programming our brains to seek satisfaction through connection, not concern. The eighth and final ritual is the one I consider most transformative for people in this age group: the declaration of availability for positive surprises. After defining the daily purpose, the person should verbalize a simple phrase out loud: "I am available for the positive surprises this day may bring me." It seems simple, but the neurological impact is profound. People with silent anxiety often develop a mental posture of constant protection, as if they were always preparing for bad news or difficult situations. This defensive posture, while understandable, closes our perception to opportunities for joy, connection, and discovery that arise naturally in everyday life. When we declare our openness to positive surprises, we are instructing our attention system to notice beauty, interesting synchronicities, moments of unexpected connection, small pleasures that would normally go unnoticed. We are moving from a position of constant vigilance to a position of receptive curiosity. Over decades of observing people in this age group, I've noticed that those who maintain emotional vitality are precisely those who remain open to daily discoveries. They haven't lost the ability to be surprised by an interesting conversation in the bank line, by a song playing on the radio that triggers beautiful memories, by a kind gesture from a stranger. The declaration of availability should be made standing in front of a window if possible, looking out at the world. The erect body posture and the gaze directed beyond the confines of the house symbolize and concretize this mental and emotional openness to the possibilities of the day. These 8 rituals, when practiced consistently for at least 3 weeks, completely restructure the morning experience. The person shifts from waking in a state of defensive alertness to one of receptive curiosity. The silent anguish that once dominated the early hours of the day is gradually replaced by a sense of loving preparation for the experiences to come. If you've made it this far, please subscribe to the channel. Content like this, which addresses specific aspects of emotional well-being in older adults, is my specialty. And your subscription helps me continue producing truly useful material for those in this stage of life. During a particularly revealing consultation, a family brought me a discovery that completely changed my understanding of silent morning anxiety. The 74-year-old patriarch had developed a habit of waking up with an indefinable sense of urgency, as if something important needed to be resolved immediately, but without being able to pinpoint exactly what. His daughter, a nurse, had begun discreetly monitoring her father's vital signs during these anguished mornings. What we discovered was fascinating. His blood pressure and heart rate were elevated not because of cardiovascular problems, but because of a specific breathing pattern he had unknowingly developed. Recent studies in geriatric neuroscience reveal that many people over 60 develop subtle changes in their breathing patterns during the transitions between sleep and wakefulness. These changes, imperceptible during the day, create a cascade of chemical signals that the brain interprets as a need for increased vigilance. Interestingly, this altered respiratory response often develops as an adaptation to natural hormonal changes that occur with aging. As our levels of certain hormones change, our respiratory system can develop small adjustments that, while functionally appropriate, generate confusing signals for our emotional alert system. When we implement morning rituals, especially the arrival breath, we are not only calming the mind, but also physically recalibrating the respiratory system to patterns that signal safety rather than alertness. It's a simultaneously psychological and physiological intervention. What amazes me is how entire families benefit when one member implements these rituals. The morning energy of a household completely changes when the person who used to wake up anxious starts waking up centered and receptive. Other family members report sleeping better, waking up more energetic, and feeling less tension in the home environment. Share this video with someone you know who could benefit from this information. Many people suffer in silence from morning sickness, thinking it's just a natural part of aging, without realizing there are specific, scientifically based strategies to transform this experience. One discovery that surprised me during years of clinical observation was how these morning rituals create a ripple effect that extends far beyond the first hours of the day. People who consistently implement this sequence report changes in their sleep quality, their ability to concentrate during the day, and especially in how they handle unexpected situations. The neurological explanation is fascinating. When we establish a morning routine that consciously calms our nervous system, we are creating what researchers call an emotional regulation reserve. It's as if we are making daily deposits into a neurological bank account that we can access whenever challenging situations arise. I've observed that people who practice these rituals for at least a month develop an increased ability to maintain calm in the face of troubling news, medical appointments, family problems, or other situations that would previously have immediately triggered silent anguish. They don't become desensitized, but rather develop an emotional stability that allows them to respond rather than react. A particularly interesting aspect is how these rituals affect the perception of time. People with silent anxiety often report that the days fly by without them having truly inhabited the hours. When we implement these morning practices, time seems to expand, and daily experiences gain more texture and meaning. This happens because we're training our attention to be present instead of constantly projecting it into the future through worry. When attention is anchored in the present moment, our temporal perception becomes richer and more satisfying. For families who want to support a loved one through this process, I suggest creating an environment that facilitates these rituals. This might mean avoiding conversations about complex problems or plans first thing in the morning, offering to prepare that special breakfast meal, or simply respecting the space and time the person needs to complete their morning routine. A commitment I'd like to propose to anyone who identifies with this information. Try this complete sequence of 8 rituals for exactly 21 days. No more, no less. 21 days is the minimum time needed for our nervous system to fully integrate a new response pattern. During these 21 days, keep a simple record of how you feel at the end of each day, on a scale of 1 to 10. Don't just record your mood, but specifically your sense of calm and connection with yourself. After the 21 days, compare your notes from the first few days with those from the last few days. The difference is often striking. Let me know in the comments if you'll accept this 21-day commitment. Knowing how many people are truly willing to implement these changes helps me create more specific and practical content. It's not enough to simply consume information. Transformation happens through consistent application. Throughout all these decades of watching people navigate the emotional complexities of maturity, one thing has always struck me deeply. Our capacity for transformation doesn't diminish with age. On the contrary, it often refines and deepens. The silent anguish that brought you to this video is not a permanent sentence, nor a sign of weakness, nor an inevitable consequence of aging. It's simply a sign that your emotional system needs fine-tuning, a gentle recalibration that honors all the wisdom and experience you carry. These 8 morning rituals are more than relaxation techniques. They're a way to honor the extraordinary person you've become over decades of life, a way to begin each day recognizing your own ability to create tranquility and meaning, regardless of external circumstances. The most beautiful thing about working with people in this age group is witnessing how small, conscious changes can generate profound transformations. You don't need to revolutionize your entire life. You just need to offer yourself these few morning minutes of intentional care and mindful presence. Remember, each morning is a new opportunity to choose how you want to inhabit your day. Silent anguish thrives on unconsciousness, on automaticity, on the feeling that we are at the mercy of forces we don't understand. These rituals restore you to the role of protagonist over your own emotional experience. If this content resonated with you, Please leave a like so the algorithm can show this video to others who may also be silently dealing with this issue. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications to receive specific content about emotional well-being in adulthood. In the comments, tell me, which of these 8 rituals resonates most with you? Which seems most challenging to implement? Your insights help others feel less alone in this process and guide me on which aspects deserve further exploration in future videos. In the next video, we'll explore how these morning rituals can be adapted for people who live with family members, have caregiving routines, or face specific physical limitations. Because everyone deserves access to wellness strategies that work within their unique circumstances. Your journey of transformation begins tomorrow, the first morning you choose to wake up not just to another day, but to a new way of inhabiting your own life.